Bring, bring. Bring, bring. Oh. Anyone home?
Hello!
No, apparently not.
Here we are outside Sally-Ann Hart's constituency office. We've rung the bell. Nobody's here. We thought you were a key worker, Sally-Ann Hart. We have a letter for you, Sally-Ann Hart, that we would like you to read. It's from your constituents, and we have many questions for you. Because you're not here, we're going to read it out for you. So I'll hand over to you, Gabe.
I just thought I'd say we did notice that you were in the Commons on Wednesday and you voted for the lockdown. It's also worth noting that as your constituents, we're also your employers. And so it might not just be us losing our jobs over the coming months. But as we're here, I'll read the letter, but please check your inbox because I think you might have some urgent messages to reply to. So without further ado, dear Mrs. Hart, we're writing on behalf of a group of very concerned Hastings&Rye constituents. It has come to our notice that you have voted to extend the Coronavirus Act 2020. This act has a profound impact on the way in which we all conduct our lives. Among your constituents, there is certainly not a consensus of agreement with the measures outlined by the government that have been permitted in the Act. And as such, we would be grateful if you could inform us of the reasons why you decided to vote for its extension and why we, your constituents, were not consulted on such an immensely important matter. Even in the event of having passed the Act, the main concerns we have now are the justifications for ongoing restrictions. We have concerns that the damage caused by ongoing restrictions are not based on the science and will cause more harm than good. Your constituents have already suffered as a result, including but not limited to the loss of employment and the collapse of business, the overwhelming loneliness felt by many who have been unable to see their loved ones, the precipitous rise in mental health issues, including a steep rise in attempted suicide and domestic abuse, as well as a feeling of severe distress and fear that has permeated the community, and physical health problems such as undiagnosed illnesses, stress-related pathologies, from fear, anxiety, a lack of exercise, and adequate sunlight. Furthermore, as our MP, we ask that you bring the following questions on our behalf to the attention of the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock. Question 1. In light of serious questions regarding the accuracy of the RT-PCR test, including a statement made by the Foreign Secretary on Sky News implying that the PCR test produces a high rate of false positive and is only 7% effective, evidence given by Professor Carl Hennigan to the Parliamentary Science and Technology Committee on Thursday, 17th of September 2020, in which he explained that a positive test result is not the same as a case of COVID-19, as a case would be considered those who are admitted to hospital, not asymptomatic people who test positive. And finally, remarks made by the creator of the test, Carrie Mullis, who explicitly stated that the test should not be used for the diagnosis of any named disease. We ask, therefore, how the government can prove that this test can reliably be used for the detection of COVID-19.
Question 2. If the RT-PCR test cannot be reliably used for the detection of COVID-19, and further considering that despite an apparent increase in positive tests, there is little corresponding rise in hospitalisations due to COVID-19, how then can the government base its lockdown measures solely on the number of positive test results? According to John Ioannidis of Stanford University, the morbidity rate of COVID-19 is 0.05% for those under the age of 70. The median age of COVID-related death is 80 to 86, which is older than the median age of death in general.
Question 4. We see no reason why the government is not supporting the Great Barrington Declaration. We ask you, Sally-Ann Hart, to read it and ask you to contact the Health Minister, Matt Hancock, for evidence that the current government policy holds up to scientific scrutiny when compared with the science-backed policy suggestion known as focused protection, which is...
Finally, question 5. There is very little evidence that the current government-supported process for locking down parts of society is at all effective and appropriate. Your constituents are suffering, and fear more suffering will come unless you start to challenge government policy. There is no evidence that lockdown works. There is no evidence that imprisoning your entire population will protect the health system. Lord Sumpton, the former Supreme Court judge, stated that lockdown restrictions are an appalling violation of civil liberties. So we request a meeting with you at your earliest opportunity to discuss how you are going to work on behalf of your constituents to ensure that the current circumstances and its negative consequences are challenged and we can return to a quality of life we strive for and deserve. Yours sincerely, the undersigned constituents.